All right, so Nick is here today to challenge for the prize of Scholar. Nick, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So the test is going to go at the beginning, just some theory and history questions. After that, we're going to work our way through the practical component with our bazar, dagger, and sword, and then there will be some free play fencing. Okay? All right, so why don't we start off with the mission statement of Emma? What are we all about here?
Certainly. The mission statement of Emma is to resurrect, research, practice, and instruct the combat principles, philosophies, skills of an accomplished European medieval martial artist to attain a state that's consistent with both technology and intent.
Okay, so we use two main sources, so why don't we first start talking about our real main source, which is Fiore. Tell us what we need to know.
Yep, our main source of study is a man by the name of Fiore de Liberia. He is a minor Italian noble from approximately the 13th-14th century, born approximately 1350 in the Patriarchy of Aquileia in the town of Friuli. His father was Benedetto de Liberia. In his youth, he traveled across Italy, learning from many German and Italian masters. Some of the ones he names are Johannes Sabinus, Johann the Swabian, and a German master by the name of Toblin. From there, he then codified these instructions and his skills, and eventually began to train and teach an art that he had created, which later would call the Flower of Battle. During this time, he would gather some students to his name. He names 7 students, referenced in his own text, and also referenced in other historical examples of earning fame and fortune in the lists and tournaments of the time. During this time, though, he also come across some detractors to his name, namely 5 false masters, as he names them, men whom he deemed not worthy of learning his art. To prove this, he would have some disagreements with these masters. They fought duels, armed with only sharp swords, gloves, and light tunics. Fiore emerged from these duels with his honor intact, proving that not only was his art teachable to his students, as we said before, also was practical by these triumphs that he had, and the fact that he was able to emerge unscathed from these events. From there, he then would go on to join the retinue of Nicola della Testa, an Italian noble at that time, approximately in the late 1300s, about 1400 we figure. From there, he would then settle down and write the 4 manuscripts that we know of. You want me to carry on the manuscripts? We'll keep on or stop there.
Yeah, you can, if you want to just name the manuscripts, I don't really need a ton of details about them, but you can just name them and maybe which one that we use the most.
So I will start with the manuscripts here. The one we mostly study as recruits is what we call the Getty manuscript. It is housed in the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, and it is the most complete and the most accessible manuscript for recruits. It has all the sections we would consider core sections, and it has what we consider the standard order, which would be wrestling, dagger, sword in one hand, sword 2 hand, armored, spear, poleaxe, and mounted. From there, it also is worth noting too that it is written in Italian, but it is also very old Italian, so it's a bit more of a pain to translate. The next manuscript we know of is the Morgan. It is housed at the Morgan Pierpont Museum in New York. Unfortunately, it is not a complete manuscript. There's sections missing, notably what we call the basic sections, the wrestling and the dagger, and it's also written in what we call the reverse order, with the mounted section first and then progressing downwards from there into poleaxe, armor, and the sword sections. The next manuscript is the Pisani Dossi. It is a privately owned manuscript held by the Pisani Dossi family in Italy. It is other than the Getty, it is the most complete manuscript, and also worth noting too, there's a couple more plays in the Pisani Dossi that are not shown in the Getty. Also worth noting too that Pisani Dossi is, the introduction is written in both Italian and Latin, and it also is written in rhyming couplets, so it is a little bit more difficult to interpret compared to the Getty. The final manuscript that we know of is the Paris or the Florius. It is housed in the Museum of Paris. However, it is a lot more difficult to interpret for art compared to the previous 3 manuscripts. It is written in Latin, it is nice and colored pictures, but the descriptions and the illustrations are rather complex and rather hard to interpret compared to the previous manuscripts.
Awesome. One more thing about Fiore, can you tell us about the Segno page and what that represents?
So the Segno page is central in all his manuscripts. In its picture, I don't know if there's any shirts here with it on here, I know mine is, but I'm behind it here. So, but in the center there is a man. There's some debate as to who this man actually is. Some would say it's Fiore, some would say it's an archetypal swordsman, some would say it's your own inner reflection of your inner swordsman. Either way, he's the central figure representing you and your place in the art. Around him, there is a compass with 4 animals. The animal at the north position is the lynx, holding a pair of calipers representing prudentia or knowledge. Also, worth noting too, that is at the head position, also representing where your own head would be on your body, which is where your knowledge is kept. From there, we move on to the next position, which would be east, or if you're looking at it in a mirror, it would be the right or left position, depending on how you want to mirror yourself in that there, but that's more tricky. And that is a lion. The lion has a heart, and he is representing audacia or courage, or the will to put yourself in risk and will to take yourself into a fight. Also worth noting too, Fiore does say that all the attributes are important, but he does say without the will to fight, you may as well not even be there. The third animal at the south position, or the foot position, is an elephant with a castle on his back representing fortitudo. That is representing your structure, representing your base, representing your whole body. Without that, everything else is not there as well. And the final animal on the west position is a tiger, representing scleratos or speed. And he is on, will be on your body, but in your right hand, which is our dominant hand, which also is our striking and our speed hand as well. Behind the compass animals, there is 7 swords, and these representing the main strikes Fiore teaches us. There are 2 swords going from diagonal down. They are representing the fendente, representing a cut from teeth to knees. The next 2 are going horizontally, representing the menzano, approximately targeting from elbows up to about head level. Then there's 2 ascending swords representing the satano, going from knees to teeth. And the final one, there's a vertical sword representing the deadly thrust or the punta, which he then describes as having 5 major targets, 2 high, 2 low, and 1 in the middle, making anywhere along that center line from approximately belt upwards.
Awesome. Tell us about why we use silver to supplement.
Certainly. So we use George Silver is an Englishman from approximately about the late 1600s. He's important to us as he does offer some clarity and some, I'm going to call it, I would describe it as hardware and software. Fiore provides the hardware, Silver provides the software to help interpret how Fiore does things. George Silver wrote 2 books. They are called Paradoxes of Defense and my brief reductions on Paradoxes of Defense. The main one, Paradoxes of Defense, was published in 1599, and it is published as George Silver at the time was a rather, by today's standards, a rather xenophobic man who did not like foreigners, and he saw the needless deaths of the brave young Englishmen as a rather big waste in his words. So he created a system to prevent these deaths, and in this he would create what we later would call the principles of the true fight, which the main principle would be to strike without being struck. And then there he goes even farther in there and down the, I'm going to call it a different order here, but he would then go into describe the true times and false times, and then the grounds and governors.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay. So the concept of true time as it relates to the concept of the true fight. The concept of true time is to present a target without present a threat without presenting a target of yourself first. So you would move with the hand, then you move with the body, and the feet, and then the foot. So you're always presenting something your opponent must deal with first before you can then make your strike safely. And then inverse, false time is anything other than that. So if you want to, anything other than that, whether it be feet, foot, body, hand, or anything other than the time of hand, body, foot, feet, is therefore false time. And then there is the grounds and governors. The grounds, I always call it, are a static thing. They are an internal component to you always, and they are judgment, distance, time, and place. Judgment is your internal knowledge of what you know of your art, what you think you know of your opponent's art, and all the art that is around you and your basic surroundings. Distance is the distance between you and your opponent as it stands, you and your weapon, how far your weapon can reach, how far your opponent's weapon can reach. All these things would make yourself safe or unsafe in a fight. Time is the actual timing of a fight, so you're looking for your moments, looking for your spacing, looking for your tempo to land your strike. In place is once you have the other 3 things in line first, then you achieve your space to safely strike without being struck. So therefore, through judgment, you get your time, through judgment, you get your distance, distance, you get your time, time, you get your place to safely land your strike without being struck. And the final one is the governors. The governors are dynamic, they're always in a constant feedback loop, and they're always active during a fight. So they are they are judgment, measure, pressing in, flying out. And again, same thing with before. The judgment is the internal knowledge of the unknowable on you in the fight at that exact moment. Measure is the dynamic flow of the fight and where you are in relation to your weapon, to your opponent. And then pressing in and flying out are the twofold mind, where as you press your attack in, you must always be aware to fly back out should your opponent negate your attack or should press attack of their own, so then you can again remain safe without being struck.
Awesome. I am satisfied with that. We'll talk about like the mechanics of the sword when we get to the sword part. Does anyone have anything? Are we good to move on? All right, let's move on then. So the next, we're going to start getting you to do some stuff. So how about first describe our basic stance, our footwork, and if you can demonstrate your footwork in any way you'd like to show us.
So I'll start with our basic theory stance, which is thus. You want your feet shoulder width apart approximately, your weight spread 60-40. You want to be on the balls of your feet as well, as much as possible within reason. You also want your structure straight. You want your head over top of your spine, over top of your hips, to maintain that proper fortitudo or proper structure at all times. From here, keeping that in mind, we then go into our steps. So the first one I like to go into is the stable leg or the stable turn, where you have your balls of your feet planted, and you would turn like this. What this allows us to do is to maintain our line, but does slightly increase our distance. Could also be a good provocation, or could be a good chambering motion to have a big attack come forward. But again, same thing is my opponent still is on the same line as I was before. The next one is the mezza volta, or some also call the passing step as well, where you pass one foot forward, but we call it a turn because your hips are turning 9 degrees. Like you're still keeping the same line in front of you from your points before, and again, you always want to make sure you come back to your stance at this point. The third turn is the tutta volta, or the full turn. It's where you would load all your weight onto one foot, and you would scribe a circle. Now, this being said, you can scribe a circle at any varying number of degrees. Now, it could be a full turn, or it could be a partial turn. But the point being, you are still scribing that circle, and you are changing your angle. And by changing your angle, you're changing your line. From here, then, we have the steps that would also chain into our foot to our turns as well. We have the incremento, or the increasing step. Again, you're usually, not always, again, just later on here, but you are usually following that same line, and you are increasing. It can be started with either the front foot, or it can be started with the back foot, but you are increasing to the target. And there is the decrescimento, or the decreasing step. Do the reverse. And again, it can be done either foot, but in this case here, for a true incremento, you're keeping your same line. Now, here's where the fun part comes in with the traversing step, or the off-line step, where you do your incremento, but you are off to the side. Now, being noted that once you do that, you must return to your structure, usually with a mini tutta volta. And when you link these together, you get what we would call a shuffle step. Yeah, also we're doing too, the traverse off-line can be in any direction you would want. You could do it from the back, from the front, passing step, you do it any way you want. It's all a matter of maintaining your line on your opponent or turning to face a different opponent, still always maintaining your structure of your footwork.
All right.
And next, I will quickly demonstrate here a walking drill we usually have here.
Good. Okay. Let's move on to some Abusari. Fiore tells us there's some requirements for Abusari before he shows us the techniques.
There
Could you
certainly
talk
is.
about-
There's 7 requirements Fiore lists for Abusari. They are strength, speed, knowledge of dislocations, knowledge of breaks, knowledge of locks, knowledge of throws, and then knowledge of strikes of malice.
All right, so we're going to start doing, oh no, before I get a partner for you, can you show us a post-up?
I certainly can. So again, we maintain our normal stance here. The first post that he shows in wrestling is iron door. We have boar's tooth. We have longa, and then we have frontale. Also worth noting, Fiore does say that the low guards oppose the high guards, the bent arm opposes the straight arm.
We're about to demonstrate some of that. So, Mr. Beatty is going to be, we wanted to pick someone your own size.
That's fair.
Okay, so do you know what to do? This stage, you're going to show us the first 6 plays. You
Sure.
direct your exhibidor how you want them so you can show yourself.
Please grab me from the back of his hand.
The first play wrestling theory tells us is to regain a structure and stop an incoming attack. So I have a grab here, regain a structure,
And I stop the incoming attack. That's the first play. And then we'll go to here so the rest can see. So my executor grabs me again, pulls me off my structure, I regain, and I stop the incoming attack. The next play, my executor would grab me again, I stop the attack. From here, I then armbar up and down. Let's rotate again here so this I can see. And then the next one here would be my executor getting closer to me so I cannot break this free.
And Nick, we like that you're showing every one of them twice. That's good. Keep that up so we can see the different angles. Yeah, it's perfect.
So again, the closer bar, this time here I cannot get my arms nicely here. So we go into the third play, which here with Mr. Beatty I can actually do completion with the throw as well. The next one would be if we were to come closer, I would try to reach here. So Mr. Beatty again grabs me here, have my foot outside here, and go with this for a shear. Now, my executor were to try to grab me above my middle, and do the same thing this way. Let's turn this here so
Yes.
I can see it. Over, my foot was a bit wonky that time. We can do that again, Mr. Beatty. And then the final play is the elbow push. So I see it coming, I can push, just elbow out of the way. I'll do this way here, so this side here can see it. Any questions?
Yeah, can you show another example of an elbow push?
Certainly.
Maybe if you're already grabbed somewhere.
Yep, certainly. So when your opponent is back of the head, we push both elbows
Sort of
here.
crossbow, yeah.
Is that
Cool.
Okay.
Yes.
That's awesome.
He didn't want me to say that. That's just us over here. Don't worry about us. Okay. Good. So at this stage, if you would like to show us a little free play for a minute or two,
Certainly.
just some wrestling. Petey, can you just put him in various holds? We don't have mats, so
No throws in the
there's
day.
no need to throw anyone on the ground at the moment.
If you do go BDM, we could use that.
I'd be sad. It's my teacher. You heard me next week then.